Alright, let's do this shit. 1 is the loneliest number you could ever do. 2 can be as bad as 1. There's no lonely number like the number 1. Let's do this shit, I guess. Goddamn. Alright. Let's get it over with. Welcome back to Beard On Gaming, because I'm solo today, because Mark decided to be a selfish prick and go have a fun family vacation with his family. I'm so lonely. Anyways, this week I'm reviewing Jump Force, which, me and a lot of other people seem to have a lot of thoughts about. It's imperfect. I guess that's a word for it, yeah. Imperfect would be a good word. You see, it has all your favorite Shonen Jump characters, so it has people from Dragon Ball, Z, and Super. And mostly Z. It has One Piece characters, it has Bleach characters, it has Naruto characters. It has fucking Yugi Moto from Yu-Gi-Oh! Yami Yugi, not Little Yugi. And some data miners find that they might actually add Seto Kaiba at some point. And it has characters I've never even heard of, like the Pegasus Knight and some guy named Ryu. But it also has Jotaro and Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So it has a huge cast of characters, with a lot of which are unique and a couple which are similar. Like, I don't understand why every character from Bleach is just a dude with a sword when I'm currently watching Bleach and they have characters, one dude with a giant fist, one dude with a bow and arrow, one chick that summons fairies, but we're stuck with the four jackasses with a sword. I don't understand that. Maybe it's just because I don't watch a show. Maybe after the second season, like, everyone just gets a fucking sword. Maybe. But, like I said, I'm not there yet. But I've been having fun with this. Right before out of the get-go, I'm going to say that I'm going to say this game is fun. And while a lot of you reviewers are going to give this game horrible scores, which they have, all the reviewers seem to say the same thing. I had fun with this, and I found it interesting. Which I don't think, if you have fun with a game and a game entertains you, that you should give it a negative score. I think that's kind of anti-productive to what a game is, because a game can be imperfect, but if you have fun with it, it should overcome a lot of problems you have with it. Now, that's not saying I'm not going to crucify this game, because I'm going to crucify the hell out of it. It's what I do. I'm basically the negative one in the show, which is weird, because I'm usually the positive one in life. But it is fun. I have a lot of fun with it. The created character is very unique. The movesets aren't. There's only 3 movesets, but you can give the characters different specials from different characters. And while they are all available, you won't be able to use any abilities from a stand and Dark Magician, which is also basically a stand. But you will be able to use things like you would be able to use the Kamehameha or the Gallic Gun. You would be able to use attacks from Hunter x Hunter. Although, actually, that's a bad example, because 2 Hunter x Hunter people don't have their moves. Anyways, you'd be able to use attacks from Bleach and Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. Anything that's not character exclusive, you can use most of Naruto's attacks, but you can't use the one attack where he goes full Fox dude. You can't use that at all. But that's not saying there isn't a lot to choose from. There's a shit ton to choose from, where it's the point where it gets daunting of which one you want. So if you were going into this game as a new hire, I'd highly recommend you hold off buying attacks until you find out exactly what you like. And, so now that I sucked the game's dick enough, let's move on to what I don't like about this game. The biggest don't like about this game, which kind of makes everything much worse, is the fact that the loading times are unforgivably atrocious. It's really bad. The loading times are... And I thought maybe it was just because it was online. And once I switched over to offline mode just to, like, see if that would alleviate the timing. It didn't. It's just bad. And I think it might have gotten a little better since it first came out, but it's still bad. So, the loading times are atrocious, so whenever the game fucks you over, and the game will fuck you over a lot of times with things that are out of your control, it only makes it much worse due to the fact that I can't, like, jump right back in and try again. I could forgive so much shit if I could just jump back in and keep the pace going. And I would forget about it because I would focus on what I'm enjoying. But I can't focus on what I'm enjoying because I'm just sitting there stewing about everything that's wrong that brought me to this point of having to wait longer. And while I'm on that subject, can I just say, who is the fucking jackass that put an "Are you sure?" option to the retry button? Are you fucking serious? You put an "Are you sure?" to the retry? And not only that, like, they put it like you have to scroll up to get to the yes, I'm sure. It starts on no. So not only do you have to wait for all the animations that you can skip after you fail a story mission, you have to wait for the retry menu to pop up, hit retry, and then wait for the "Are you sure?" menu to pop up to hit yes. And then you have to wait for the whole loading screen for it to reboot the fights. The fuck? Who decided that? I mean, it's just one. And I'd honestly rather lose experience and just hit start and restart to avoid all that. And if I'm choosing not to get experience for a fight just to save a few seconds of waiting, that's bad. That's really, really bad. Now I'm going to get into some really technical shit about the game that's problematic. So if you haven't touched it before, I mean, I really don't know what to tell you. So the game has an ultimate meter. You have to be hit enough in order to do your ultimate, which sounds good in concept, but instead of tying the ultimate meter to how much you're hurt, it's tied to how much you're hit. Now, that might sound like a weird thing to have a problem over until you realize that many of the computers you fight, especially in story mode, are better than you. And I don't mean they're skilled better than you, because they clearly won't be. I mean they have better stats than you, like better defense, better attack, better health. So if you have someone with better defense, it doesn't matter how good you are. Because since it's tied to how many times you hit them versus how much they're hurt, they're going to have their ultimate every fourth attack. Because the game punishes you for being better. So if you're better than someone that's a higher level than you, instead of them getting their ultimate when they're half health, they're going to get their ultimate when you only knock down a quarter of health. So every fourth move will be an ultimate against you. And ultimates do pretty significant chip damage. So that's pretty cheap. And while I'm on that subject, the support P characters, you can either call on a support for quick help or call on a support to switch. Now, I guess they tied it to one button, even though the directional pad is completely unused in a fight, which astounds me, but anyway. So it's L2. If you tap L2, the character switches, and if you hold L2, the character just quickly attacks. Now, if I want a character to quickly attack, I'd rather tap the L2 button, not hold it. But since it's tied to a tap, all your opponent has to do is trigger their ultimate. And it would register as a switch. It says it says your partner, when you just tap it, charges at the opponent and not guarding, and they get a free ultimate off you. It's a really stupid maneuver. And since the computer does it every time, and they have their ultimate every fourth move, it gets to the point where I'm not even using support characters, a whole function in the game that the game's built around, because the computer is just going to take a cheap shot at me. And it's not like these fights are tough. Like, I'm beating them. I'm getting through the game. I'm just not having fun doing it. Because I realize it's not me overcoming a challenge. It's me overcoming bullshit game mechanics. But yeah. You could honestly just grind till you're the same level as the computer, but it gets to the point where I get so much better than the computer that I'm having the reverse problem of me no longer finding it challenging, me just knocking them over as soon as I hit them a few times. All these problems could be adjusted and fixed. I'm just really surprised they weren't fixed from the get-go. Even at just the loading screen, like I wouldn't even notice mechanical issues with the game if I didn't have time to sit, stew, and think about them. If I just immediately jump back in the game, I'm like, oh, I'd get this bastard this time. Wait now. No, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, why did I lose? And that shouldn't be it. I shouldn't be thinking, why did I lose? I should be thinking, I can't wait to get him next time. And that's the biggest problem I had with games with loading screens. It shouldn't. If your game takes too long to load, then your game isn't worth looking like it does. But yeah, so that's the problems I had with Jump Force. But ultimately, the character roster is really good, and they're going to be expanding it on DLC. The animations are really, really neat. The characters look like ass. The cutscenes look like ass. But that's not what you're there for. You're there to You're there to see action figures fight each other. Action figures you don't get other places. Like, fights you always just thought who would win in your head or talking with your friends. You're there to see that play out. You're there to just pour all your toys on the ground and play with your toys. That's what you're there to do. And that's what this game provides. Like, you get Urameshi versus Goku. You get Naruto versus Ichigo. These fights, you're just like, oh, gee, I wonder who would win. And you wouldn't really get, viewing unless you were lucky enough for Death Battle to cover. And now you're getting it in front of you on your screen happening. And that's what you're there for, excuse me. But, yeah, so I'll have Mark play it, and maybe he'll chime in on a few things. But that's the way I feel about the whole game. It's worth your time if you're a fan of a couple of these shows. I'm obviously not a fan of all of them. I don't even know all the characters' names. But, I watch a good amount of Hunter x Hunter. I watch a good amount of Yu Yu Hakusho. I watch all of Dragon Ball. I watched some of One Piece. I read all of Naruto. So I'm having a good time. And, if I don't like a character, I typically don't have to put up with them. The story is fine-ish. You're going to have that problem where fighting games need to come up with a way for you to have opponents to fight constantly. So either someone's getting hypnotized, there's clones being made, or some bullshit like that, and that's exactly what you're having. You have these cubes, which can give humans powers or turn them into evil things called venoms. You get one and you turn into a superhero, and a bunch of the human beings turn into venoms for you to fight. Cubes can also be made into clones of people for you to fight. They could also be placed inside of your allies from Shonen Jump comics for you to fight as well. And they're hypnotized and you have to save them. It's not much to write home about. In fact, there was a few parts that kind of irritated me. But for what it is, it serves its purpose. I'd rather have it than not have it, is what I'm trying to say here. It's neat. So, yeah, I think that's basically all I have. Sorry this episode's so short. I usually have Mark here to, fill in gaps and everything becomes twice as long because we have a conversation about it. But the selfish prick is having quality family time. So, fine. I'll do it alone. Oh. Shouldn't be drinking this early. Anyway. I hope you enjoyed that. Sorry this episode's so short this time. We'll try to make a better episode next week. No, next episode, 2 weeks, bi-weekly. But thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining me. And hope you guys have a good time. Alright, peace.